I want to make a couple things very clear about this video before I start in earnest. This video is not an encouragement to go to Gabbie Hanna's channel and say nasty things to her. I can't control what other people do, but I want it clear that nobody who does that has my blessing. I also want to say that this wasn't just done on a whim. This isn't jumping on someone because it's popular to criticize them so I can just make a quick buck. I don't monetize any of my videos. This isn't even the content that I normally make. I'm making this video to say my piece on Gabbie Hanna so I can finally stop caring about her. I didn't want to talk about her while she was on her internet hiatus. I figured I'd only talk about it on my channel in a video if she came back and continued to display the behavior that led to where she currently is. And that is exactly what happened. The video that Gabbie Hanna released on the 18th of August 2020 does more than enough to demonstrate that Gabbie Hanna will never actually do what I, and I'm sure many others, want her to do. So I'm gonna say what's on my mind, then just stop caring about it. I'm done thinking about Gabbie Hanna. If you're one of my regular subscribers who doesn't care about YouTube drama, feel free to skip this video. Anyone else, sit back and listen. This essay is titled Gabbie Hanna Will Never Learn because her most recent video proved to me that she doesn't appear to intend on ever doing the one thing that all her reasonable critics have asked of her, and that is taking responsibility for her actions. She had 46 minutes to do exactly that and she would not do it. Some might argue that she did and point to the parts where she said that she had in fact messed up in the past, been a bad friend, etc. But here's the thing. Saying, I messed up, I'm not perfect, I'm trying to improve, but not going into specifics is not taking accountability. It looks like it, but nothing about that actually requires personal growth. It's used to have something to point to, something to pull up so that you, or your offenders, can say, they addressed it, they apologized, stop talking about it. If anything, it's used to purposely avoid taking responsibility. It was eerily reminiscent of Jeffree Star's non-apology last month. I want to lay out the things that she should have said in her I'm Back video that she never even came close to. I don't want to get all the screenshots and video footage and edit it in, and Gabbie Hanna has stated multiple times that making exposed videos with screenshots is toxic, so I'll just talk about what I know to be true and hold Gabbie responsible for her lies, her manipulation, and her bullying tactics. I'm not going to explain much in the way of context, but I'll link some videos if you want a refresher. Several sources will also be linked in the description. The biggest thing that Gabbie Hanna will likely never talk about is her lies and manipulation involving the situation with Jessi Smiles and Curtis Lepore. I do not claim to know the ins and outs of Gabbie's friendship with Jessi, but I do know that Gabbie has formed this narrative about it that is verifiably untrue and manipulative. Gabbie repeatedly says that she never supported Curtis. She especially repeats that she never collaborated with him. She says you can scroll and look and you won't find any evidence of the false rumors about her. That is not true. She deleted most of her tweets about it, but there are tweets without context and replies out there that she needs to address. Things like, hold up, where's my popcorn? Or, people are upset that the world is getting ugly, screw that, make it nasty, on the day the TMZ article dropped. A reply implying that Gabbie Hanna said girls where she came from lie about sexual assault all the time. There are bits of circumstantial evidence that point to the idea that Gabbie was laughing about it and didn't believe it. Gabbie Hanna has discussed one reply and explained it away, but has not touched on any of the other ones that are really incriminating, really suspicious. In the past, I've observed that Gabbie will only publicly address and disprove things that she can either explain away or turn around into being somebody else's fault. What she doesn't say is even more telling than what she does say. This makes me believe that these are things that Gabbie Hanna just wants to act like don't exist. And that's not me coming from bad faith, that is just a reasonable conclusion given her actions in the past. But even despite that, most of it Gabbie could explain away if she really wanted to. But that leaves us with the picture. She said that she wasn't friends with Curtis, didn't hang out with him, and said there was one picture that she didn't want posted because she was caught off guard and didn't want to make it look like she was friends with him. But I believe she talked about that being on Snapchat. Almost immediately before Gabbie Hanna left the internet, this Instagram picture was found. It was clearly her with Curtis Lepore. It's obviously not candid and is a direct contradiction to the narrative Gabbie has spun. I'm not saying that it's impossible that this photo was doctored in 2015 to make Gabbie look bad, but I am saying that there's no reason to believe that, especially not now with Gabbie not talking about it. Gabbie Hanna says repeatedly that it's pointless to disprove false accusations like this because one more will come right up after it. But this falls back on the earlier strategy of pretending that real credible accusations and screenshots of her don't even exist. But they do. That one reply about false rape accusations is still on Twitter. This isn't a false rumor, it's a simple request for her to explain herself. There is no way Gabbie Hanna doesn't know about the evidence against her, but she can't shift the blame, and that's why she doesn't want to talk about it. She doesn't even have to prove them wrong. She could just admit that she really did behave badly and apologize, both for her actions and for lying about them. That would be commendable, but she won't do it. Instead, it's the same lines and misleading statements. There's no collab. People are calling me a rape apologist. Scroll and scroll and scroll and you won't find anything. And this isn't even really about the things that she said 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's about what she's doing now. Now she's spinning the narrative that there's no evidence, that any evidence is fake, that's a huge dramatic lie used to bully her. She seems to be under the impression that coming clean and admitting that she did these things would just make things worse. Personally, I would appreciate it. What she's doing instead, lying about it and painting other people as villains for even discussing it, that's what's making it so much worse. I don't know how many lies or misleading statements Gabbie Hanna has told the public, but empirically there are at least some, and she won't take responsibility for it. That brings us to the manipulation. One very common line of hers is, "People are calling me a master manipulator." Well, there are some examples of manipulation I want to talk about. Most prominently is the endless guilt tripping. She talks about it so much, how hard all the hate has been, what a toll it's taken on her mental health. She became suicidal, her underage fans are being threatened, she's getting death threats, she's crying and spiraling, all of it. But that stops being context and starts being manipulation when you use it as a silencing tactic. She never admits the part that she played in, from what I can see, every single one of her problems. She doesn't apologize for the hurtful things that she's done in any meaningful way. She just keeps reiterating how she's the victim. That one-sided picture makes it so anybody who wants to criticize her is a heartless monster who just wants to add to her suffering. But that's not all. One great way to see all sorts of manipulation tactics in action is watching her Enough podcast. Shaming, shifting blame, dodging responsibility, and unmistakable gaslighting. I'll bring up the worst example of that. She was talking about the famous DM conversation with a fan that she had last year. The one that led Jessi to making the video. In it, she talks about one of the screenshots that she provided unprompted, though of course she doesn't mention that, and starts talking about it to bring up what a horrible person Jessi is. The screenshot said that Jen didn't like how Jessi stopped her from making friends with other people and talked about how controlling she was. But Jen and Jessi have both independently said that that statement was based on lies that Gabbie had told both of them. They say that Gabbie had turned them against each other, and that conversation was because of that. They already forgave each other for it. They discussed it. They've come to the conclusion that none of it was real. But Gabbie used that screenshot, that text conversation, to discredit Jessi to the fan, and then used it again on the podcast, even after it was shown to be a lie, to continue to paint Jessi as this terrible person. She took something that she knew was based on a manipulative lie that she told to paint Jessi as a lying manipulator. To continue to use that screenshot to try to discredit Jessi, even after it's been verified that it's not true, just proves that Gabbie isn't sorry for making that private conversation with that fan. She says she is, but clearly she's not, because she's continuing to do the exact same thing over and over, using these screenshots, using these lies to try to discredit Jessi, all while continuously blaming Jessi for it. In so many ways, Gabbie Hanna is a huge hypocrite. She talks about how many videos Jessi has with Psycho in the title, when she has just as many, if not more, on her own channel. She cried in a video about her ex-boyfriend sharing private screenshots of hers, but she does that to other people repeatedly. She denounced Jessi for talking about a situation with an underage prom date, but there are tweets and a video of her making actual pedophilic jokes. She claims to be an advocate for mental health, but med shames, both behind the scenes and in public. She constantly asks for evidence and receipts, but laments on the state of YouTube discourse and cancel culture when anybody asks her to back up any of her own claims. In fact, Gabbie has quite the history of saying that she has evidence, but getting cold feet whenever it comes to actually showing any of it. She said that she had evidence of YouTube shadow banning her, but she didn't show it. She says that she has a bunch of facts and screenshots proving that all the accusations about her are false, but she says she doesn't want to stoop to the level of showing them publicly. She had a live stream titled "Exposing the Whole Text Messages, Not Cropped Misleading Ones," and she doesn't show a single text, she just reads them out loud on her computer. And in the video that inspired this one, she said that she had enough evidence to make a court case against the people harassing her, but didn't go through with it because that would require devoting even more of her time to the lies and the manipulation and the abuse and the blah blah blah. Once again, this is right out of Jeffree Star's playbook. This is what he did in his Never Doing This Again video. This is what he did in the Mom's Basement podcast. This strategy of claiming you have evidence, but not showing any of it and saying you're actually just taking the moral high ground, that makes it so that you can lie and have others be in the wrong for asking you to provide evidence. The manipulation is so rampant with Gabbie Hanna that it almost seems like second nature. She'll tell a lie or be misleading, then make it the other person's fault for taking it the wrong way. She'll tell her side of the story, all biases and narratives included, and paint it as the truth. But no, Gabbie Hanna is not a master manipulator. A master wouldn't be so obvious about it. The last thing that Gabbie Hanna needed to talk about and didn't, or at least the last one I'm going to discuss, is her bullying tactics. One time she got a mean comment on Instagram, then screenshotted it and posted about it without disguising the commenter's name. Her fans went after that user, and Gabbie defended them for doing that. But the other example is so much worse. Recently, Gabbie went on livestream to talk about fights and issues she had with the owner of a much smaller YouTube channel. It was full of lies and manipulation, and even though she never said the name of that channel, there were enough breadcrumbs for the fans in the chat to figure it out right away. When someone in the chat mentioned that that person was tweeting about it, Gabbie told her fans to go to the Twitter account and defend her. That led to that person's Twitter account being flooded with Gabbie hands attacking them. I was there. I watched it happen. It was relentless, and Gabbie never apologized for it. When it comes to this situation and other situations like it, it's just the same lines over and over with her. My fans are just defending me. Oh, that one account that went too far, it's not a real fan, that's just a troll. I never said any names, they're just exposing themselves. But when you make a stream of you crying about how horrible somebody is, and you tell everybody in the chat to go to that person's Twitter and defend you, that is using your fan base as a weapon. Even if Gabbie was being completely truthful and was in the right, that's still an immoral way to use your audience. But the text messages were revealed later, and it was shown that she really was twisting the situation to her benefit. This is just part of a pattern with her. She is always the first one to make private matters public, and her fan base is one of the nastiest ones on all of YouTube, or at least out of the ones I've encountered. She's fine with letting her army of fans do all the dirty work for her. She'll always play the victim, but she repeatedly does things that harm others, either on purpose or without any care for what might happen as a result. She makes ominous threats that people should be afraid of her because she has nothing to lose. She uploaded a video of her yelling and cursing out people. These are not the actions of a victim, these are the actions of a bully. And those are the things Gabbie Hanna has yet to take responsibility for. There are plenty of others, I'm barely scratching the surface, but that's what I wanted to talk about. She had a month to examine her own behavior and mull over the places where she went wrong, but when she came back, she instead uploaded a 46-minute pity party. At this point, I don't believe anyone is getting through to her. That's why I'm done caring about it. I'm done thinking about it. YouTube drama is just draining, and wherever Gabbie goes, drama follows. I'm not calling her an evil villain, I'm just sharing how I feel that she will never take meaningful accountability. That's all a lot of people were asking for. This video didn't even touch the hearsay about her. If even a fraction of what I've heard about Gabbie Hanna is true, she really is the monster that's been here all along. But even based on only facts, her public words, her public actions, I don't condone anyone supporting Gabbie Hanna. Every view, every stream and click, it's all just feeding the narrative that Gabbie is a blameless victim who everyone is bullying. If she ever improves, good for her, but that doesn't seem likely at this point. And I am done thinking about Gabbie Hanna. Thank you for listening.